Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is UTeM&aliza and my lab partner azimah&aliza will explain about lab 3 designing and implementing a subnetted IPv4 addressing scheme. Okay, for part 1. Okay, for part 1 we have to answer the question. Okay, how many host addresses are needed in the largest required subnet? The answer is 25. And for question 2, what is the minimum number of subnet required? The answer is 6. And then the network that you task to subnet is 192.168.0.0/24. And what is the 20/24 subnet mask in the binary? Okay, this is the answer. Okay, for the question 4, in the subnet mask is made up of two portions, the network portion and the host portion. This is represented in the binary by the ones and zero in the subnet. Okay, for in the network mask, what does 1 represent? The answer is network portion. And in the network mask, what does 0 represent? The answer is host portion. Okay, for question 5, we have to dotted /25 dotted decimal subnet mask equivalent to 255.255.255.128. Okay, for the number of subnet, the answer is 2 and number of hosts is 126. Okay, for /26, the dotted decimal subnet mask equivalent is 255.255.255.192, and then the number of subnet is 4 and the number of hosts is 62. And then we finish all the answer. Okay, for question 6, considering your answer, which subnet must meet the required number of minimum host addresses? The answer is /25/26/27. And then considering your answer, which subnet must meet the minimum number of subnet required? The answer is /27/28/28/29/30. Okay, considering your answer, which subnet must meet both required minimum number of hosts and minimum number of subnet required? The answer is /27. Okay, for question 9, we have to do the subnet addresses /prefix and subnet mask dotted decimal. Okay, for the first one is 192.168.0.0. The prefix is /27, and then the subnet mask dotted decimal, the answer is 255.255.255.224. And we finish until 192.168.0.224/27. The subnet mask is 255.255.255.224. Okay, for this part, we have to input the IP address for PCA. For PCA is 192.168.0.92/27. And then for the router G0/1, 192.168.0.33/27, and the loopback 0, 192.168.0.65/27. And then for the loopback 1, 192.168.0.97/27. And then for the G00, 192.168.0.1/27. For the PCB, 192.168.0.30/27. Okay, this is the addressing table for this figure. Okay, for step 1, configure the router. We have to configure the router for the G00, G01, and loopback 0 and loopback 1. Okay, and then for step 2, we have to configure the PC interface. Okay, this is the IP configuration for the PCA. Okay, and then this is the IP configuration for the PCB. Okay, for part 3, we have to test and troubleshoot the network. Okay, PCA. On PCA, we have to ping the default gateway. Okay. As we can see here, we get the reply and the packet sent for, received for, and loss is 0% loss. Okay, for PCB, we have to ping the default gateway. Okay, as we can see here, we get the reply. Okay, so the send is 4, receive 4, lost 0. Send. Okay, for the last part, we have to test if PCA can ping PCB. So we go to the command prompt from PCA. We ping the PCB. Okay, as we can see here, we get the reply. So for question E, the experiment by proposal means configure the gateway address on PCA to be 21 to 10.0.0.1. What happened when you try and ping from PCB to PCA? Do you receive a reply? No, it is with deliberate misconfiguration. So part 4, I will pass to azimah&aliza and Abidin.
Okay, so my part for part 4 is design the VLSM address scheme. You need minimum 25 host IP address, minimum 10 IP address, and have a loopback 0 and loopback 1. Also minimum 5 host IP address and 4 minimum host IP address. And it's table for subnet information, subnet description, employer network, administration network, virtual network 1, virtual network 2, virtual network 1, virtual network 2. So this is number of hosts you require, and this is the number of host bit hash, number of hosts to power of hash minus 2, and this is subnet mask. So next, this is IP address for network address, first host address, last host address, and broadcast address. So for employer network, IP address is 192.168.0.0/1027, and first host address 192.168.0.1, and last host address 192.168.0.30, and broadcast address is 192.168.0.31, and so on. Okay, next, setup for step 2, complete the diagram. Show host IP address will be applied. So the PCA, PCB, switch, and router. For IP address PCA 192.168.0.40/28, and for PCB 192.168.0.10/27, and for IP address G0/1 is 192.168.0.33/28. For loop 0, 192.168.0.95/29, and loop back 1, 192.168.0.97/29. So this is table for addressing, for IP address and subnet mask and the default gateway. Okay, next, cable the network in topology. So we need to configure the router at the command and configure the PC interface. So we test the connectivity at PCA with its default gateways. So we ping the command IP address 192.168.0.33, and we got reply packet sent for, receive for, and lost 0%. Okay, B, we ping PCB with its default gateway with using IP address 192.168.0.1, and we get reply packet sent for, receive for, and lost 0%. Okay, next, we ping PCA to PCB, and we ping the IP address 192.168.0.10, and we got the reply packet sent for, receive for, and lost 0%. And next, after we troubleshoot the connectivity, we get successful. Okay, reflection. For question 1, why is the subnet mask so important when analyzing an IPv4 address? The subnet mask is important because it determines everything about the address, including the network address, number of host bits, number of hosts, and the broadcast address. Number 2, what information is needed when determining an appropriate addressing scheme for a network? The number of network and hosts are needed when determining an appropriate address scheme for a network. Question 3, subnetting one large network into multiple smaller networks allow for greater flexibility and security in network design. However, what do you think some of the drawbacks are when the subnets are limited to being the same size? Some of the subnetworks require many IP addresses and some require only a few. By having all of the subnets the same size is not the most efficient way to divide the subnets. Number 4, what do you think the gateway or router IP address is usually the first usable IP address in the network? It is a useful convention which makes the gateway easy to remember while using the first usable IP address in the network for router. For 5, find last, what is advantage of using VLSM in subnetting? VLSM allow engineers to better match the need for addresses with the size of the subnet. That's all from us. Thank you.